Hey, everybody, welcome to What Drives Us, episode 401 for January 27th, 2020. My name is Russell Frost, and I have the pleasure to be your host with this amazing panel. Let me introduce them and get this show on the road because we got way more news than we can deal with in our normal show setting. So, my co-host and friend in the Midwest, Mr. Tony Schaefer.
Hey everybody, welcome from the Midwest. We got about 7 to 8 inches of snow yesterday. So I got a pretty good workout and did not use the snowblower. Own a snowblower, decided to shovel.
Nice.
Low carbon. Good job.
There we go.
And I'm just going to throw this out real quick. Gas-powered lawnmowers and gas-powered snowblowers in one use can emit as much pollutant as a internal combustion engine sedan, and that's a modern internal combustion engine sedan, because the catalytic converters and the emission controls that are on sedans, but not on these dirty two-stroke engines. So, you know what? The snowblower went to the curb, and I think it been hot chocolate and is what was powering the snow clearing.
You can get electric versions of both of those if you really want one.
That was what I was going to say. I have an electric lawnmower. I'm looking at getting an electric snowblower, but I have a hot chocolate snowblower right now.
This season,
burrito powered.
This season, the Ego electric snowblower is now available as a 2-stage, because that was a big obstacle for a lot of people, was that it was single stage last year.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, and speaking of the gentleman talking with experience about dealing with the snow, our friend in the Mid-Atlantic region, Mr. Kacey Green.
Hey there. We had a little bit of snow on the deck when I woke up this morning. A little dusting. And they started running the trucks tonight, so apparently they expect it to be bad tomorrow.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
It's like 54 right now. I'm freezing my ass off.
I've got the humidifier running in the background because it's so dry in here.
Yeah. Our humidity's way down too, oddly enough. Well, certainly humidity's never a problem for our friend, Mr. Patrick Connor.
Right. Yeah, we get moisture all the time. Yeah. and we even got a little bit of snow yesterday, but today it's all melted and my solar panels were cranking out a little bit of juice.
There you go.
Yeah, you get up there and brush off the panels?
No. No.
It melts instantly. Yeah, I'm sure.
We get enough rain that they stay clean, and if there's snow for a couple days, oh well.
Beautiful.
I looked into getting a brush for ours, and then I got bored with it.
Nice. Well, let's get into the news because like I said, we got a ton of it. First story tonight comes from NHTSA. And NHTSA, well, you've heard it on the show before. They are the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. They oversee a lot of car regulations, guidelines, and whatnot. NHTSA has established a battery safety initiative where this is a multi-pronged initiative where they're going to look at collecting data, analyzing it about automotive, or I should say not automotive, vehicular batteries, and obviously with the goal of increasing safety for them. So they'll be investigating crashes and battery damaged vehicles. They'll be doing research on battery diagnostics. They'll be looking at battery management systems, evaluating them for cybersecurity issues. They'll also be looking at enforcement issues, talking about making sure that manufacturers represent their products, their battery products, correctly. And of course, as NHTSA always does, eventually having a two-stage approach, a two-phase approach, where they're going to be initiating some safety standards that manufacturers will have to meet to sell batteries for vehicles in the United States. I'm one of those pro-regulation. I welcome this, and I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
No one's against safety. I mean, don't get me wrong here, but
nobody around here is against safety.
Okay, yeah, right, yeah. I'm concerned that one of the things that in many states we've seen where, we need to have some something to make up for the gas tax you're not paying, so we're going to put a $2,000 registration fee on there, even though that's 10 times what you would have paid in gas taxes. I'm worried that there's going to be some. They're going to be held to this ridiculously standard that's way higher than what gas cars would be held to. There are 150,000 gas car fires a year, and I think that should be where they're focusing right now. Before the anyway, as long as this is not abused, I'm all for it.
I want to say that the specific thing you raised is completely outside of their stated scope of what they're trying to do, and what we're really looking at is safety, not so much comeuppance for not paying gas tax. Although, of course, lots of states have done stupid stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. That was an example of where I've just seen where they're not being held to the same standard. They're holding EVs to a ridiculously higher standard, and in some ways, it's because there's people who are pro status quo.
Very much so. Very much.
Now, Patrick, what you said about all of the internal combustion engine fires and being held to a higher standard, and you could imagine that there could be people out there saying, well, I heard that lithium ion batteries can have a runaway event and they catch on fire. So right now the current status quo is how many internal combustion engine fires a year did you say?
150,000 is the last number I heard.
Okay, so as long as 145,000 lithium ion batteries explode, they're still better than internal combustion engine cars.
Right, and there's this
right now we're
fallacy
under
because
10, so
they get so much more media attention that it seems like they're just happening so much more, but that's a huge distortion of reality.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, and that's why I just want to be real clear. I wanted to make it very clear because people can use and misuse statistics. And instead of saying these cars aren't safe because I heard that a battery exploded, they need to say these cars are 1,000, 10,000 times safer because we're comparing them to 150,000. And like Kacey said, we're currently at fewer than 10.
And I think what we're talking about here is a failure in the media where the man bites dog story always gets way more play than it should. And a Tesla exploding spontaneously or otherwise is a much bigger story than the 5,000th Volkswagen that is self-immolated along the freeway.
Exactly.
Or all of the BMWs brand new that are catching fire in Asia and Australia.
Yeah, it's so I agree. As long as this isn't used as a bludgeon against electric vehicles, it's a good thing because safety standards, getting out ahead of that maybe a little bit, even though they're still way behind, would be a good thing. Let's move on to the next story, of which there's absolutely nothing humorous. There's no fun way to talk about this story. And this is something that for me is, I don't want to say it's deeply personal, but it's there are more than 400,000 dead Americans right now from something that millions of people think is either a hoax or it's just like the flu. Well, that really came home to roost in California, where the AQMD, which is California's Air Quality Management Board, had to suspend air quality regulations because crematoriums are working overtime disposing of victims of COVID-19 here in California. That's so heinous to me.
Well, I think the just to nitpick on what you just said, crematoriums want to work overtime. They're not allowed to work overtime.
Right. They have a certain limit of what they can do, of how many bodies they can process. And
this is, of course, like Russell said, the air quality management says that, of course, even crematoriums vent to the outside air. So they are only allowed to perform a certain number of cremations due to air quality standards. But that means the bodies are stacking up faster than the crematoriums are legally allowed to get to them.
2,700 bodies currently in Los Angeles awaiting disposal. 2,700.
And they say that they're going to be 500,000 before the end of next month.
Yes, almost certainly.
Yeah, and I have to wonder, I mean, we're only reading about this because, you know, who brought it? Georgia, I think, brought this news article to our attention. What other cities and states have the same possible regulations that this is affecting? I mean,
Well, Florida will just lie about it, so we'll never hear
yeah.
about it. Yeah, they'll have a big brush fire or something. And actually, I'm sorry, the story, I did want to give her credit. I got the story from Chelsea Sexton. Chelsea and I were talking, and she sent me the link, and it was kind enough to just talk about it. It's sobering. Obviously, Chelsea lives up in LA, and I live in San Diego. So, you know, this is us. This is our area. These are our fellow Californians.
Yeah, you're right.
We need
There's
to find
nothing
a better way to dispose of the dead. Mushroom spore suits or something. I don't know what it is, but yeah, there should be a greener alternative for
I like
end of life.
I think it's called resummation, where they liquefy you and then feed you to the plants.
Yes.
Liquefy you.
Yes,
Yeah.
I've heard of that.
I don't want to know.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem is nobody wants to think about how they're going to be disposed of when they're gone. It's going to happen to all of us. And so maybe it's time to do a little bit of estate planning and get your will filled out and figure out how you would like to be dealt with when you are no longer among the living.
Yep.
I plan to be dehydrated, like in the movie Dune, and then fed to a sandworm.
Is that an option?
Shai Hulud.
the kind of sandworm he's picturing, but yeah, it's an option.
Wow.
They're much smaller sandworms.
I had no idea.
So I got on my local wait list for the vaccine. So we'll see what comes of it.
The raccoons?
Vaccine.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. There's the wait list for his raccoons. He's going to be fed to raccoons when he's dead.
That's been actually
wait list for the
believe it or not, in the last 24 hours, that has been a theme in this house. And it would take me way too long to explain it. But hordes of raccoons interacting with humans that's been told. And that's why when I thought I heard you say it, I was like, what? Your house too?
Oh yes. So I tried to also add my wife to the wait list, and they said that she wasn't sick enough or fat enough. So.
Yeah, oddly enough, the new job qualifies me as a 1A essential worker.
There you go.
Yeah, thank you for that. I have no idea when and where that's going to happen, but yeah.
Just get in line and hope they get you. I was hearing about some 27-year-old who stumbled upon it. She was at the drugstore and they were about to close, and they had one. The person didn't show for their appointment, and they're like, "Here, we can stick it in you, or we can stick it in the garbage." And she said, "Give it here."
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Kacey, take us out of this story.
Something much more fun.
Something much more fun, which is more where my comfort zone is. But Patrick, you are absolutely right for calling me out on that. Nobody wants to talk about it. We all should.
So last week we were going to talk about this auction for the Hoffs, or not the Hoffs, sorry, for David's
Yes.
The K.I.T., the one in the UK, his personal
The
car.
Night Industry 2000.
Yes.
Oh,
You know the acronym.
Of course.
Very nice.
And they said it's a fully functional kit car, not a kit car, but K.I.T.T. With full conversion car located in the UK, and you're responsible for delivery and expense, blah blah blah. It sold for $300,000.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I know, and I have to make room for it now.
I don't even know what to say. I mean, hey, good for them. Whatever, you know.
That's the Hoff.
You know what? If you're gonna buy the car, you also need the tractor trailer, just so that you can be rolling down the interstate and drop to the back, and then drop out. Just to do it.
You know what? If you had a Tesla Semi, and it was in platoon mode.
Oh no! Don't go there.
Well, you need some heavy-duty casters on that tailgate.
I do like the dashboard though.
Yeah, that
It's
that
the real
is
deal.
pretty. That is
I don't
pretty.
know
Oh, he
who-
signed it too.
Yeah.
Then it's worth less in my opinion. I'm sorry. No, I don't have anything against Hasselhoff. I just like whatever, like
Oh, look at that yoke steering wheel. We're going to talk about that again later.
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
nice. Nice. Well, I mean that's 300 grand. I'm
300
glad
grand.
somebody's got that kind of change laying around.
I wouldn't have spent it.
Well,
Yeah, there's the better ways.
we do miss having. Well, we actually Georgia McKenzie's not on the show this week, which you may have noticed because it's just the four of us. She's having some issues with connectivity and whatnot at home, so we look forward to having her back soon. And Mark Coughlin is unfortunately not with us this week, so that means he has tapped our friend Patrick Connor to represent the Tesla life and go over this week in Tesla.
Tesla. That's right. This week in Tesla. So today was earnings call day. Very exciting. And there's one thing that I need to lead with, and that is 2021 is Plaid, baby. The Plaid vehicles are out. They announced these refreshes in the investor call, which is unusual. This is not normally where they do this. They normally do product announcements or launches or events, but
Happen at all. Like, no, it's always been that way.
yeah. So there's this is just an update. They don't make a big deal out of those at all, right? But yeah, this is just more than just a minor update. So we got to see these Plaid vehicle images that they've put out, and so they have an interior refresh. They went to the horizontal screen, and they've added a third screen. There's one for the second row now. And then we were just talking about the steering wheel. It's now this butterfly style steering yoke. And it's not quite the same as K.I.T., because they did have to meet the laws for a production vehicle. So it does have closed loops on it, but definitely different. And it's stockless. So no turn signals, no gear selectors. Yeah. So going to be a very different experience using that. So that was exciting to see that. And they also have a Model X with this refresh, because there's been some discussion that maybe this will be the end of the X, to which I said, no, it has to live because I plan on buying one in 2025. If they cancel it now, that ruins my plans. So that was the big one. The tri-motor. They have a 0 to 60 time of less than 2 seconds, faster than any production vehicle car ever made. And this is a luxury sedan, and it beats hypercars and supercars. Incredible. Yeah.
It's street legal.
Right. Yes. And their longest range version, 520 miles EPA. I remember when they went over 400, I was like, wow, that's just incredible. And now they've done it again over another major milestone.
What is it, a year later?
Yeah, it's just impressive that the way that the technology is progressing. And so when they were going through their financials, they were talking. They have how much they've been spending on R&D, and a lot of their profits are getting plowed right back into R&D, and that's exactly what we need them to do, to continue to improve the technology, to continue to improve energy density, to reduce production costs, to ramp up manufacturing, to build new factories, to build more service centers, to build out a larger supercharger network. They are spending a lot of money, and luckily they're also making a lot of money. If you want to know the financials, go to ir.tesla.com. You can see all of that there. The forward-looking product stuff that I just went over is probably the most exciting part about it. There were some questions about they did a little bit of a recap of 2020, some of the cool things they've done there, delivering 500,000 vehicles, how that in that 1 year they nearly doubled the total number that they've made in their entire history. So that was incredible. How they got their pilot battery cell plant up and going, and how it would be one of the top 10, and yet for them it's just a pilot factory. It's not even a full production factory. They talked about how now that they have this money coming in, they are using it to reduce their debts. They have convertible loans that they're converting to stock converting, so they're getting those off of their books. They had an increase in stock-based employee compensation. It was significantly higher than usual because their stock during this time has ramped up so much that the way that some of these employee programs work, you get the stock at either the beginning or ending price of a 6-month window. Well, if it goes up a lot during that, then the amount of benefit the employees get shows up on the here as a significant cost to the company, and that's great for the employees. If you work there, I good job on you getting a nice big fat check for your stock participation.
Right. The employee stock program is quarterly, not semi-annually, isn't it?
Oh, you work there. You would know better than I would.
That's my recollection, is that it was quarterly, but it does work that same way depending on the price at the beginning and the end.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The one I'm familiar with is semi-annually.
I'm
okay.
nitpicking. I'm sorry, Patrick.
No, it's fine. I'd rather be accurate. I just assumed that Tesla's was like the one I'm familiar with, and I was wrong. Okay. They talked about how they are going to significantly work on ramping up solar this year. Their solar is up over the last 3 years, but as we know, it was at a very low spot in 2018 because they pulled everybody off to work on Model 3 delivery, because Model 3 was do or die. If they didn't deliver that and didn't get it ramped up, there would be no Tesla to deliver any of their products. So they made the hard choice to sacrifice solar during that time, and now it's time for them to make their comeback. They talked about how they've reduced their costs for both production and installation, and how they're working on making a better product by having Powerwall integration with their app, so that you're getting a whole energy service and not just solar panels. And I'm definitely seeing that with the Powerwalls I have now. Depending on what mode you have it in, it can predict your energy usage and your production for the day, and then smartly manage your battery to handle that. In some cases, even discharging your battery to make room for anticipated solar, so that they can time when that energy use happens. Even though it would exceed your battery capacity, they can still be smart about it. What's next? Full self-driving. They've talked about how with every release of the beta, things have been getting better, how they're moving to their 4D model. And there are still parts of the neural net that are in 2D mode, and every time they change one of them over to their 4D mode, it gets even better. So that's great to see that they figured out a formula that's working, and they're continuing to improve that. And as I said, with every beta release that goes out, it's getting better. Often for some even complicated drives, they're seeing 0 interventions now. And of course, that doesn't mean that it's ready to go out or that you can stop paying attention. Don't fall asleep in your back seat. Don't be an idiot. You'll be dead. And don't do that. Our lawyer called and said, don't do that. One of the questions was, is viewing Tesla's value based on battery capacity in a relevant way to value the company? To which I was surprised. Musk said, absolutely. They are the limiting factor on all of our products. The reason we haven't put the Semi out yet is that we don't have enough batteries to do it. And so that was an interesting discussion there, that it's really how many batteries can we get from our partners, because we're not stopping. Even though we're making our own, we've made sure that all of our partners know we want to buy batteries from them, and we're going to want to buy more this year than we did last year. Lots and lots of stuff here.
Perfect. Well,
The tunnel.
but we're running
okay.
out of
All right.
that time
Yes.
for that.
Okay.
So
The last one, Kacey has to have this. So the boring tunnel in Las Vegas, Musk was down there with a few of his children. They have some pictures of it that have been released, and they're going to have a Fallout shelter themed party to kick it off.
Wow.
Fallout Shelter is one of the games that they offer in their car too. So very cool.
Mhm.
there you go. Thank you very much for that. And of course, the best place to get all of this information is from the source. So go to YouTube and search for the Tesla Life Show. Look for the shiny red logo and subscribe. That way you get Mark Coughlin, Kacey Green, Patrick Connor, and who knows who else. You get it right from the source. You get all the news. Is that fair? I think that's fair.
That was great. Thanks.
That's fair, yeah.
Absolutely. Patrick, thanks so much for stepping in for Mark this week. You did a nice
Sure.
job. I think maybe actually you should just keep. No,
If Mark doesn't show up, he might lose his job.
see, I was just like, Mark's like, all of a sudden, what? I missed 1 week. And yeah,
That's all it takes, man.
that's things happen so quickly here, quickly.
Yeah.
Well, let's go from the Tesla high to the Tesla low. This has always been one of my concerns with everyone's favorite CEO, Elon Musk, is that while it's all fun and games, it's not so cool when something that he says or does hurts a market category that, and I'll only speak for myself here, but I'm probably not, that I support. And that would include technologically advanced vehicles. That would include electric vehicles. Waymo released a statement last week talking, and it was really just in a time when a lot of our communication is hyperbolic, when it's just rhetoric, when it's just marketing speak. It was a very down-to-earth, realistic way to talk about a subject that is fiendishly complicated. And again, what I want to talk about here is while Tesla's talking about full self-driving chips and all this other fun stuff, here's a company that has worked very hard on a similar thing, not necessarily the same thing, but a similar thing, and is saying, we're not going to call this full self-driving. We're going to be very careful about how we roll it out. And I think that is so much more of a respectable approach. That's all I've got on that for now.
I think they're just playing language games to get in the news. Because if you try to use your Tesla this way today, they will tell you that it's assist. So,
Right. It's an assist to something called full self-driving.
that's the
Yes.
name of the finished product. It's not finished.
But see, we've had this discussion before,
so
and
many
you
times on
always
this.
back up on what you were saying a second before, and then laugh as though it's a humorous thing. It's not. If the finished product is called full self-drive and it's not finished, then it should be called partial
It's called full self-drive beta.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
when it's
Where- yeah,
Gmail
and
beta,
beta.
it's all fun and games, right? When it's this, it's a little different. And we can have the discussion about, like, should a company be beta testing full self-driving with non-professional drivers on open roads? Is that responsible?
They're licensed
No,
drivers.
but when
They're
something goes
behind the
wrong,
wheel.
when something goes wrong, you blame the person behind the wheel. It's all
Exactly.
self-regulating.
So I didn't necessarily want to get down that road, but I did want to offer that. I thought that Waymo did a nice job of saying this is a difficult category. We're doing our best to be responsible and be safe and produce this product that someday we'll have, but probably not soon. And they're talking like 5 years.
I think they're trying to stand out from the other competition, not just the red one.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's other, it's not just a matter of Waymo versus Tesla by any means, but Waymo is certainly one of the most visible of the smaller, the lesser known companies, shall we say, whereas Tesla's a household name.
So is Google, just to be clear. But
Absolutely. But again, when my Gmail fails, nobody dies. Nothing
Hopefully.
blows up. There's no property damage. I'm pissed, but I didn't pay for it. When your $100,000 FSD car doesn't work, it's a different issue.
well, if you had any data to show that those vehicles were less safe and that they were causing deaths, we could have that discussion. Instead, you're just saying, "Oh, I don't like the way they named it," and neither does Waymo, and the naming
I mean,
is
they might
irrelevant to
crash,
me.
but have they yet?
Well, I mean,
When properly
I mean,
used?
we've already discussed the safety comparison of, like battery powered cars to internal combustion engine cars. But I remember last year we covered a situation in which a car veered into a guardrail,
While it was being piloted by a guy playing video games.
and it was using a beta version of full self-drive. So we can conveniently blame
Actually,
the
I think he
person
had
behind
autopilot
the
1.0,
wheel
right?
when the car decides to veer into a guardrail. And then we go down this rabbit hole where you guys tell us that we're full of shit, and then we go on to the next story.
Yep, and it's going to happen here too, because
Yeah.
you can have
Because I have the
anecdotal-
controls. Next
get
story.
it. I get it, because we can't stack corpses on top of Teslas, that we don't have data. We don't have data that it's less safe. But
Right.
I'm telling you that any manufacturer that wants to test something like autonomous driving, full self-driving, autopilot, whatever you want to call it, what Tesla's doing, by calling it a beta and giving it to people, is, in my opinion, not the safest way to do it. Now,
But the whole industry
Maybe
is
I'm
doing it. You've
wrong.
got GM, Kia, Hyundai, BMW, Mercedes. They just call
right.
it different stuff.
it's doing what?
They're rolling
They're
out
all doing
driver
this driver
assist
assist.
features.
Right. And that's a
Driver
good thing, right?
assist.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's totally fine.
yeah.
Okay.
So
That's
I mean, it's
Yeah,
less
you-
people crashing into you because they're fucking with their phones. Unless the phone is crashing them into a guardrail.
I'm going to disagree, but that's okay. I mean, that's what the show's about.
Yeah.
We're allowed to have different opinions. I just, time will tell. And maybe I'm wrong. I'm fully willing to admit I've been wrong on this show more than a few times, and I will be in the future. And I'd like to be wrong here. Hopefully we won't be talking about dead families or dead people
Well, we
in
will.
the name
Even
of progress.
even when it's fully baked, fully ready, fully vetted.
No,
and
stop.
declared
Don't
safe
even
by
go
the-
there. You don't get to make that argument on this show. You just don't. That we're going to give up some dead people to make technological progress.
I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying
No,
that once
that-
it's
yeah.
vetted and baked and regulated is okay, we are still going to lose people.
Yeah. I don't want, honestly, when we start talking about the human cost for technological advances, like, it's okay
I'm not
because
saying
it's going to
okay.
happen
I'm saying
anyway.
if you lose a tire, then you're still going to lose somebody. If they lose a tire, or if a sensor goes out and they're not paying attention to the alarm, or I don't know what it's going to look like in the future, but we're not going to have zero deaths. It's just
No, I mean, I see what you're saying. I mean, I know what you're saying.
arguing that. I'm sorry, Tony, go ahead.
No, I just, again, to me, and getting back to the Waymo thing and the nitpicking what we're calling it, which is where I'm in staunched, because yes, I will say that Teslas are extremely safe. They've pulled off some incredibly amazing maneuvers on their own before the drivers had time to react. But as you have said, they're still beta. And to call it full is not yet realized. So it's a misnomer to tell an unwitting population, and we are very knowledgeable, so we are not included in that population. I feel it's misleading to tell the population at large that this is full self-drive when the driver must still be responsible and able to take over at a moment's notice.
but they're not telling the public at large. They're, as you get in the car and you turn it on, it says hang out of the wheel. This thing isn't what it's advertised as yet.
Yes, but they're still calling it full self-drive.
And as I just found out when I had the memory chip in my car replaced, and I had that was so it went back to factory settings for a lot of stuff. You have to go in and explicitly turn this on and acknowledge that it is not complete and that it is under development, and you do need to pay attention. That's
There's a full
all right
page.
there.
You
And
go
it's
to the
not
full
just
page.
some EULA that you rip open and don't read. I mean, you have to acknowledge it.
Fair
I
enough.
still acknowledge the EULAs I don't read, but I know what you're saying.
This is how you end up in South Park with the situation.
Well, speaking of South Park and speaking of acknowledging things, an interesting thing on Bloomberg this week that just totally kind of threw me for a loop. Guess who the latest fossil fuel developer is? Yeah, it's SpaceX.
SpaceX.
SpaceX filed for a license to drill for natural gas on their property near their Boca Chica launch pad. I like saying Boca Chica. I'm sorry.
It's a fun word.
It's fine.
It is fun.
And yeah, so yay. Now, does SpaceX need natural gas? Sure, why not? Everybody does. And are they going to do something cool with it? Great. Am I glad that somebody else is drilling another hole in the earth in Texas to pump fossil fuel out of the ground? No, I'm not glad about that. That's all I got.
Yeah, well, I mean, if it's a surprise to anybody that rockets use fossil fuels, then you haven't been paying attention.
Sure.
So just the fact that SpaceX is going to be the one to drill it now instead of buying it from somebody else is pretty irrelevant.
Yeah,
No,
they.
battery-powered rockets. That's what we need. Battery-powered
Well,
rockets.
Once you get them into space, you can do that.
Here's the thing, though, is that the ultimate goal is to actually run these on renewable sources of the methane, so to just extract it straight out of the air. In fact, they just put up their own plant to get their own liquid nitrogen and liquid oxygen and etc. straight out of the air. So it's just a matter of time before you've got a renewable rocket.
I never remember the name of that process.
Sabatier process.
Fourier. What is it?
Sabatier.
Sabatier. Yes.
Very
So
nice.
yeah, maybe that's the real reason Musk put out that carbon capture
That's
prize.
exactly why.
Yeah. If someone comes up with a better way for him to make rocket fuel out of the air, perfect. There you go.
Well, that was the
We're
exact.
going to take the carbon and we're going to launch it into space.
Well, that's exactly why. Because right now the current process is kind of expensive, and trees take too long, and it's really hard to put a tree in the rocket as a liquid.
Wow.
Wood-powered rockets. I don't know why those haven't been a thing.
don't
I
know.
mean,
Yeah,
come on.
I mean-
It's right.
Yeah, they make fire. You just aim it out the back. That's yeah.
There's a show
From a
title.
corporate
Tree-powered
perspective,
rockets.
from a corporate perspective, this makes perfect sense. I mean, it really does. If you need a raw material and you have access to go get the raw material yourself rather than buying it from someone else, then you go do it. From a corporate perspective, shareholders, profits, not having to buy from another vendor. Yeah.
As long as they're responsible with it. I mean, I would hate
This
to
is
see
what companies do.
them be the latest leaker.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least I'm pretty confident they're going to cap it when they're done and not just leave it leaking like so many other.
Why would you be confident about that?
Because how many eyes are looking at Musk all the time for
Exactly.
stuff like this? Because
How
of the
many-
amount of criticism.
Musk doesn't give a shit about that. He's done. Oh, please.
Well, we also know that they won't be flaring off the methane because they need it for the rocket.
No, they'll be flaring it off. Just it'll be spectacular.
On the way up.
Yeah. So I mean, not at the well.
We all know what you meant. Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, let's go to something fun. Let's talk about SPACs with Patrick.
Oh, Spacklemania. Hold on. I've this was one of that we were going to do last week, and so I don't have my notes right now.
Oh, I'm sorry, Patrick. I will take that off your plate. I don't mean to.
So I'll wing it. So as we have seen, that SPACs, these special purpose acquisition companies, are the latest rave for not just EV companies. There are mortgage companies and other people coming to market with SPACs. And SPACs in the past, like 2019 and previous, if you saw one of those, it was because they were trying to dodge regulations for the most part. And it was a huge red flag. And these were usually companies that could not come to market some other way because they had major problems. Well, now, instead, they are using it as a time to market, time to money feature. And it also means they happen to be avoiding a lot of the scrutiny that they might otherwise have to go through, which means you as an investor should be very cautious. And a lot of them are shooting up like crazy, and that is gambling. So be careful and do your own research. This is not stock advice or SPAC advice. There are a whole lot of companies that have recently come or on their soon to be, and I've got a list of them. We know that QuantumScape and well, one of the companies that we've talked about on here a lot was Nikola, and this is how they came to market. And you saw what happened with them. They had a lot of issues of things that were less than completely factual. Let's put it that way. So here's the list of ones that have recently come or are coming soon: Nikola, Fisker, Faraday Future, QuantumScape, Canoe, XL Fleet, Lordstown Motors, ChargePoint, EVgo, Workhorse, and Electric Last Mile. And then there's rumors that Lucid is going to come out that way. The Lucid one is interesting because the I forget the name of the company they're going to merge with, or rumored to be merging with. They've shot up like crazy. So it's a SPAC that may or may not actually have a deal. That means they may or may not actually come to market under a new ticker, and yet it's so in risk piled on risk, and still people are jumping on board with it. And just as long as you understand the risk you're taking and you're investing your own money, and it's not the money that you need to pay the rent next month, that might be okay. But it's not something I would recommend.
Assume it's
Yeah,
going.
and like Patrick said, do not take stock advice from four guys on a podcast. If you want to know
Take my
what stocks to
advice.
buy, go to Reddit and
Don't take this
Just put
advice either.
everything in GameStonk.
But with the
That's the
specs
best
of the ones that
advice
you
we've
mentioned
said.
here, the only two that seem to be like up and running and fully fledged businesses with products and customers are ChargePoint and EVgo.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of them are pre-revenue. So
Pre-revenue, which
Yes.
means they haven't made any money.
Exactly.
Right.
exactly.
Or
They
Or
don't
they haven't
have
sold anything
incoming-
even, let alone
Yeah.
made any money. They haven't lost any money or from sales.
Right. Yeah. So and normally that would be something that before you could go to market with, you would have to be able to show, here's how we're making money and here's our plan to make even more. And those kinds of requirements. If you're willing to find a SPAC partner that's going to fund you and they're okay if you're not going to make money for 2 or 3 years, then you can do it this way. It's just a lot riskier.
This is like an extremely risky GoFundMe.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 And like with QuantumScape, I bought some QuantumScape at 20 and I sold it at 50. So okay, that worked. I made some money on it. It was up as high as 130. I didn't get out at the top. I missed that, but that's okay. It was a tiny amount, and it's a company I'm going to watch. So I might buy some next year when it looks like they're closer to having a product out. But it was kind of just a gamble, not an investment.
Mhm.
Well, there you go. Thanks, Patrick. I mean, as SPACs are becoming more and more of a high-profile thing, not just some weird thing that investors know about. It's certainly something that everybody should have just a little bit of background on. Arguable that it's now the legitimate way to that it used to only be for illegitimate things. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And doing it this way doesn't mean they are illegitimate. It just means there's less proof that they're legitimate.
well, it just means there's less transparency in them going public, right?
Yes.
And that's
Yeah,
really what this is
Bidding,
about.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do have, once they're a listed company, they do have filing requirements. But if I mean, in the past, some of these companies that used it had their big IPO, did this, collected a bunch of money, and then disappeared before any of those filing requirements needed to be fulfilled.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, let's go to Tony for some news that impacts lots of companies we talk about every week from the White House. How pleasant isn't it to say that?
Yes. So the White House is under new management. I don't know if you've heard, but apparently the new old white guy who's in the White House, not to be confused with the previous old white guy, this guy at least has an eye towards the future and is looking to save what's left of the environment and the climate, and he's trying to do things to help us out. To which President Biden has signed an executive order that is expanding a 1933 what is it? It's an act, an act of
Is that when
1933
he
that was
placed
called.
back then? Was that his action back then?
That was. So he was 17 when he signed this in 1933. No, I'm just
Wow.
kidding. He's not that old. But it was a Buy American Act. And of course, this was, World War I was over. We hadn't yet gotten into World War II. And there was a big push to make sure that we bought American stuff. And especially the federal government was supporting American manufacturers and American vendors and suppliers. He is expanding that now. And one of the caveats is a push to replace over 645,000 federal vehicles to be full electric. Now, what's interesting is that's what's getting the headlines. But as you read into it, what you actually find is that the executive order that he signed doesn't even really specify that they have to be full electric. But the bigger push, he is pushing towards electric vehicles and renewables. So it's just that what it does mention specifically is currently 50% of a car's parts have to be sourced from a domestic source, from within the United States. He's pushing that up. And I don't think there was a specific number that was given, but there are some interesting cars when you consider Honda, for example. There are some Honda vehicles that are 70% United States sourced, manufactured and assembled in the United States. Toyota, we've said, like the Toyota Camry. There's a plant in, was it Georgetown, Kentucky?
Yep.
That builds the Camry. A lot of American parts, a lot of American employees. And this push to bring source from the United States is really going to help the economy. It's going to help American workers. And then, like I said, he's also pushing to promote more electric vehicles in the federal fleet. Now, swapping out 600, I lost the number, 645,000 vehicles in 4 years is a huge undertaking and is probably not going to happen. But
I'm holding him to it.
If we can, hold it in 100 days, in the first 100 days. No, but if we can get the ball rolling, if we can get, electric postal trucks and get that ball rolling and get the manufacturing lined up and get the lines running and other things like that, then it will just proceed and will live longer than his terms is what I'm getting at. So we're getting the ball rolling. It's been a week, 2 weeks, and we're already starting the ball rolling. So I think this is heading in the right direction.
1 week, 7 days.
7 days, yeah.
Wow.
When they said military vehicles, did they mean just the recruiter cars, or did they also mean?
Well, I mean, there's millions of military vehicles, right?
I'm wondering if they meant the battlefield vehicles.
I don't know. If they just did the non-battlefield stuff, that could be huge.
That would be that would be huge. Yeah, even the the on military bases there are vehicles that just drive around the bases, things like that.
Trucks, buses,
covered
passenger vehicles.
on this show many years ago. We talked about how the United States military was looking at hybrids and battery-powered vehicles because Napoleon often said that an army travels on its stomach. These days, an army travels on gasoline. So being able to make more fuel-efficient military vehicles or go full electric with solar panels means that you can go places and not have to worry about the supply lines reaching you. So that would be a great thing. But I don't think that's covered by this
Plus, they could use those NASA grade solar panels. They don't have to worry about the off the shelf stuff that we get.
Right.
I can't wait to see the presidential Cybertruck.
Yes.
It's bulletproof.
The beast.
Just don't hit the
Oh,
glass.
Jesus. Yeah.
Don't hit the
Yeah.
glass with
That's a
hammer.
test I don't want to see. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ding. Ooh.
Yes,
Well-
please not.
On that note, unfortunately, I have to say that's the end of the news tonight. We're going to do some shout outs and go home because I have a hard ending time and we've covered as much as we can. I think we made some good ground. My apologies, Kacey. You had a story coming up.
That would have been a perfect segue for it, too.
Yeah, it would have. But we'll think of something else.
We will.
Be a cliffhanger.
We'll
for next
stage
week.
something if need be.
Oh.
It'll involve raccoons.
I'm telling you, raccoons,
Right.
man. It is all about the raccoons. Patrick, let's start off with you, sir.
Sure. I am with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeva.org. And I blog occasionally at carswithcords.net. Check it out. Thanks.
Do check it out. And like me, go there and tell Patrick he's wrong. He loves that.
It's fun.
But he'll stalk you and it's not
I'll
pretty.
reply. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
he'll reply. Speaking of man who will reply, Mr. Kacey Green.
Speaking of replies, I put out a couple of great videos this week, and the one that I was most proud of was I took on, in reply, a response to the 3-minute fill-up claims I kept getting on my how to find the fastest supercharger video, and several others, but that one was the one that got the most of these people saying, oh, I can fill up in 3 minutes, oh, why not just get gas, why not go back to gas, blah, blah, blah. So at youtube.com/Kacey Green, that's KACEYGREEN, I go into actually time it and found out that no, you can't do it in 3 minutes, and then see what else happens over there on the video.
Yeah, the most amazing part of that for me was how many gas car drivers watch your channel and then want to tell you you should switch back
Yes.
to it. That what? Why are they even there? But hey, well, welcome.
So many gas car people was like, how to charge your Tesla? Oh, well, all right.
Yeah.
My response to them was, I don't go to the gas car, whatever, and say, hey, you're wrong. I'm like, oh, that's a pretty car.
There you go. Okay, Tony Schaefer.
I have been searching because I was looking for one very specific comment so that I can give a shout out to Ryan Bills. Ryan, thank you so much for listening to the show all the time. A 10-hour drive. Thanks for your dedication and be safe out there. All right. That's a lot of miles and a lot of hours. Stay safe, my friend. Also, I don't know where you got this show, whether it was Stitcher, Slacker, iTunes, TuneIn, Google Play, or whatever. But if you did happen to stumble upon it and you haven't yet subscribed, please do us a favor and go ahead and subscribe. That would be most awesome. And while you're there, subscribe to the YouTube channel. That just helps our numbers. It helps our analytics. It helps more people find our content. I think that's all
There
I
you
got.
go.
Go Hawks.
Well, thank you. Go Hawks. They still, I actually had this conversation with my wife last night. There's a Super Bowl coming up. I honestly had no clue. Like there was a football season this year.
Yeah, it's the big game. I don't think you're allowed to mention the.
I love violating that intellectual property. It is the fucking Super Bowl. Okay.
It's a superb owl.
The superb owl. Thank you.
Space.
Oh, there it is. Yes.
I actually played that one like back in 2003. You know what? The NFL doesn't laugh about it. They didn't like my superb owl advertising.
Oh,
Yeah.
They care if you mention their game? I mean, I get not playing the video or the audio.
Yeah, they care if
Wow.
you use their trademark name.
Right.
yes, without paying for it.
To
because
mention
some
that you're
people-
going to go watch their trademark game.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Because
That's
some
a-
people pay for the ability to say it, and if you didn't pay them, you can't say it.
There's
Right.
nothing about the NFL that is good.
I mean, so like if I hadn't heard it on the news and hadn't heard Russell say it, I might not have even known that there was one this year.
Superb owl.
Yeah, they're worried like the World Series. There's the World Series of Poker and then other things. It's been used all over the place because they didn't properly protect it. They did not want that to happen with the big game.
But
Patrick says, I got money to lose. They're not going to come after me.
Yeah.
Fair enough. You know what I mean? Like, what are they going to get? My scooter? My 13-year-old Prius? You know, it's not going to happen.
Mhm.
As always, I want to thank Michael Manring for his amazing theme music. Visit him at manthing.com. Buy his music everywhere. That's Michael Manring, Manring. His new album, Small Moments, is out now. Go buy one anywhere you want, even the awful people at CD Baby. I want to thank Patrick Connor, Kacey Green, and Tony Schaefer for putting up with my crap for one more show. Show 401.
Woohoo.
We made it. 2006, 2009 subscribers today.
Cool.
2009 subscribers. Thank you all, 2009 of you. It's so great. And I'm going to start doing makeup tutorials because I want us to get up into the hundreds of thousands. So if you've been waiting, no, I'm not going to do makeup tutorials.
I'm just happy that we have more subscribers than shows.
Yeah.
Right. That's nice.
That's the benchmark for success. It's pretty low, but that's
Yeah.
my criteria.
Wow.
And we're 5 times past that. So awesome.
Mind blown, Patrick. Engineer brain, there he is. Hey, thanks to all of you guys for showing up. Thanks to all of you. Of course, you are the reason we do the show. Download us next week and find out what drives us.
Stay positive. Test negative.
See you later next week.